Welcome to Ideas with Impact podcast. Today's episode is a special open table conversation about the deeper intelligence of the cosmos and the blueprint of human consciousness. Joining me today are four incredible voices exploring the deeper patterns of the cosmos and consciousness. First, I'd like to welcome Jai, who is an astrologer and founder of Channel for Grace. Her work helps people reconnect with their intuition and understand the deeper intelligence within their cosmic design. I also like to welcome Robert, who is an author of The Lost Octave, and he works by diving into hidden codes linking astrology, the I Ching, and the evolution of human consciousness. Next, I'd like to welcome Heather, a quantum healer and a past life regression practitioner who helps individuals access deeper layer of the soul for healing and expanded awareness. And finally, I'd like to welcome Kelly, an intuitive astrologer who beautifully waves together cosmic wisdom with authentic soul living. I'm really excited to bring all four guests together today for this open table conversation. Welcome, everyone.
So much.
I'm very curious to hear of how each of you see this when we step into the frame as a humanity, and how do you see the world right now as a cosmic perspective?
I was just going to say, one of the things that I feel like I am noticing right now in the world is that there's a bit of a collapse happening. And, I think those of us that have been on a spiritual journey for a while and have been engaged in this work and connecting with our higher selves and sort of understanding that the world needs to change. I feel like it's kind of like when we are cleaning our house, like doing a spring cleaning. We pull everything out of the closets and everything is like a huge mess, and we've got all these piles everywhere of things we need to like take to, donate, or things that we're going to keep. And I think in a bit of a way, we're sort of going through this house cleaning process right now in the world. There is, I feel like a lot of us who are on a little bit of a spiritual path before the others, we're sort of aware of this process, and, we're preparing to help other people to sort of understand what's happening in the world without panicking.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's just sort of one of the observations I feel like is going on right now. It looks very messy, but everything sort of needs to change, and, change and growth is uncomfortable. So just sort of an observation of mine.
It's just like you have to hit the chaos, right? The storm before the calm.
Yeah. Well, and I think that the uncomfortable part is where all of the planets are. We're in this cosmic cycle that hasn't happened for thousands of years, like literally 26,000, 6,000 years. Like there's these big things that are cosmically shifting, and whether you're aware of it or not, cellularly, we're taking this in. We're in for such new beginnings. There's planets that are shifting this year. We started with Pluto and Aquarius, but now we have like major planetary shifts that are happening all in one year. And the Aries theme that we're in, being the first of the zodiac, it's all brand new beginning. We just had the Saturn Neptune conjunction in Aries a month ago in February, and it was just a major turning point for humanity. And what I liken to like what we're all experiencing right now, for people that have not given birth, the people that have given birth will know what I'm talking about. We're in this contraction of, holy shit, like I can't do this. We can't handle it. Like everything's going to blow up and my body's going to burst and like I can't do this, to then taking in a breath, and your life kind of allows you to not freak out about what's happening in the world, but collectively all of society, wherever you are on this planet, is in the labor cycle of birthing what is a brand new cycle for all of humanity.
Yeah, I love that. To me, the phrase that keeps coming up is we're all entering into a completely new story. And coupled with that conjunction that happened recently with Saturn and Neptune at 0 Aries, and the fact that that one, at least in the traditional gene keys, the way that Richard Rudd has them, because I know, Robert, you've got the evolved version. You can probably tell us about that. But in the original, the 25th gene key is where that conjunction happened, and maybe the same one. I didn't look, actually. I didn't check if it was one of the star codons, but that gene key is all about, it's the beginning of the story of the hero's journey, where we have to stop constricting ourselves and accept like where we're at. And in that process of acceptance, that's where we free ourselves, and we actually start to have more of the eye to be able to see what's going on, like from the higher perspective, and therefore understand. And that understanding is what helps us to kind of keep moving forward. Like there's more things coming, a lot more things coming, but we all have to choose now individually. That's the difference. It's like every individual person now has to choose on their own what path they're going to take, and you don't know what's going to happen once you go down this path. So you're a bit like, there's an unknown, there's a big unknown. We have to create the future. And I think that's another big part of like what the realization is we're seeing how much we're participating in the future, even with just our own energy.
Yeah, that's so beautiful to share. And I love all of these views. And so I would probably say from my angle, I'm looking at, let's say, the precession of the equinox. So of course we have the procession that we're moving through in the yearly cycle, and then the precession. And so if we look at where humanity is in that precession cycle, it's actually linked to the story in the stars at the moment of the Tower of Babel. So we are in that star story right now on a cosmic level. And of course, that story is about that humanity built the tower to be like gods. And of course, the story is that God essentially destroyed that tower, and it scattered everybody and broke the communication. And there was then, instead of one language, there was multiple languages, and there was a lot of confusion. And so, of course, with this, we've got to try and find that universal language. And of course, this Tower of Babel that we're building right now could be seen as AI, that we're seeing that as the universal language, but actually we need to realize that it's our human body and it's the DNA that is the universal language and the resonating factor between all of us. And so look at the DNA and tie the cosmos into the body. There's two things that are happening right now. The amino acid histidine, which is essentially an inflammatory response. But yet on the flip side, histidine is actually connected to the moment of orgasmic connection in lovemaking. So it has this flip side of two different parts. And then on top of that, we have the amino acid glutamine. And glutamine is where we get gluten from, meaning the glue. And so right now, the themes in the DNA, it's about inflammatory response, the breakdown of the Tower of Babel. And then also, what is the glue that links us all together? What is the glue that links Mother Earth, our body, the cosmos? And so we're finding new patterns to show that there is this one harmonic, that we are exactly where we're meant to be, and that this is an evolutionary process of sort of breaking down, but then rebuilding into something. And I kind of feel like that's the maternal, matriarchal leadership is actually what is being birthed through. And of course, everybody has their feminine aspect, whether you're a male or female, but it's definitely about this maternal energy, this return back to Mother Nature that we're using as our guiding light to be in harmony with the earth. And then when we're in harmony with the earth, we're in harmony with our bodies, and we're in harmony with the cosmos. So that's kind of like how I see the different levels all converging now into realizing we're that middle point. We are the technology we've been looking for.
Mm.
Do you guys notice in your work that there's more and more people who are waking up to this process of what's going on, and they're seeing the difference, or they feel something in the body, but they're not sure what's going on?
Well, I can certainly speak to this a little bit from like a quantum healing and a past life perspective, that there are a lot of themes with the people who are coming to see me right now and the kinds of experiences that they are actually having on these quantum journeys. And one of the themes that I have seen is that there is like a call to a activation of our multidimensionality. So it is like people, when they are coming to see me, they are in these sessions meeting many other parts of themselves, whether it is parts of themselves in other dimensions or parts of themselves that have lived other lives, and they're sort of coming into this sense and knowledge and awareness that they are a multidimensional being having a human experience and sort of integrating it into their conscious awareness while alive on the earth. And so, you know, from that perspective, like something is definitely happening. That's quite interesting as far as like that theme is concerned. You know, I think also one of the reasons that people come in to see me sometimes is these planetary transits and all of this stuff going on in the cosmos, the Schumann resonance and all of the energy that we're experiencing that's been changing our bodies and has been changing our DNA. It can feel uncomfortable and it can feel confusing. And so I see a lot of people coming in for that as well. Like they want to know what is going on. Like, why am I feeling all of this stuff? Why am I feel like I'm changing in my body? Why do I feel all these things? So, you know, that's just a little bit of 2 cents from my perspective.
Would this be also something that we as humanity start to remember of really truly who we are?
I think
I
that's
mean,
the whole spiritual path, is remembering who we are. Like that's just the whole core of the journey. But I also like I see within my own clientele from when I first started doing like professional sessions, probably like early 2010s, 2016, 17, I was dealing with a lot of like wounded trauma people. And the more I'd say since 2020, 2021, 22, I'm getting people where it's activations. Like they're coming in and I'm activating them. We're going into their past lives. There's a different lexicon. I think it's interesting, Robert, bringing up language and then like the sequencing that's happening as well, where the cellular changing that's happening because of the cosmos, and then the technology that's available to us. Like the language is becoming more and more available to people than it was even 10 to 15 years ago. So there's this convergence of people that weren't necessarily seeking out this path the way some of us were like 20 years ago in secret bookshops and alleyways, like little whispered conversations. Now it's this regular thing within society. So I feel that when the clients do come, they're a little bit more available to the language and not as timid to kind of stepping deeper into that consciousness conversation.
yeah, I would agree with that. And I was going to share that people are definitely noticing, and they are searching for understanding, and they're going and looking for it. And I think that that's a big difference, is that before, a lot of people were just doing the autopilot thing, just same thing every day, and maybe feeling I'm not fully like living life, because I honestly don't even think it's about living in our purpose. I mean, to me, that means being in alignment with who we are. So I feel like what we're looking for is alignment. And people are now more than ever wanting, like, they're curious about it more than ever. And I think the whole world has just opened up in awareness at the level of the mind. There's like a mind opening. And everything that's going on in the social sphere is also creating this invitation where more and more people are like, I'm going to go see what's over there. Like, I want to go find out. Nobody's going to like yell at me if I like go check this out. I think that part is totally fading. Like, no more Salem witch trials kind of a thing, you know? So like you're free to go explore what you want to find out. And there's so much of that it just feels freeing. I think people are starting to feel a little more free and a little more free. There's that liberation aspect that's happening right now that is encouraging, I feel, energetically at a DNA level. Like Robert said, if we're being activated at that DNA level, our body feels the need for something. And so then we're like wanting to go in the direction of what that is. And I have definitely seen it. Like, people come to me and they go, I don't know what's different, but now more than ever, I want to know myself. I want to see what this is about. I have a lot of questions now. Whereas before I would have just kept doing the same thing year after year, even though I had this like little voice in the back of my head that said, you're not really fully living.
Yeah, I love that so much. I love all of these shares, and it definitely is moving. I think this idea that, you know, astrology and the DNA and the body and the cosmos and what's happening on the earth, people are realizing somehow it's all connected. And so they've realized that they are part of a movement, whether they've signed up for this or not. They're involved on the earth at this time. And so they've got a role, they've got a participation to have. And of course, me being very much a sort of a systems person, of seeing how the entire system works. And so we're finding more and more evidence to tie in unified theories, unified proof of how, like, music, geometry, astrology, DNA, all of it is connected. And so with this, people then start to feel the validation that astrology isn't just about fortune telling, and it's not just about some kind of thing that's out there about telling you about your future. It's actually a fundamental part of your human experience with linking to the earth. And so definitely people have started to come saying, like, I don't know why I'm necessarily here, but I felt that there was a resonance. I can feel that there is something drawing me. And then the more that you can kind of show that everything they're experiencing is connected to the whole pie, then it's like, wow, there is almost a beautiful responsibility to take action, to move into an alignment, because your participation is so important. And I think that's a beautiful epiphany that everybody's starting to realize that their role on the earth, no matter how large or small, it's a contribution, and that small contributions create big contributions. And then that's how we start to shift. But it all starts by taking the responsibility for your own self, your own journey, your own well-being, your own mental and emotional stability and regulation. And then that's how it starts to move. So it's almost like they speak about the sort of second coming, right, of Christ and this. And it's like, well, that really is the responsibility within every single one, is to realize that that's within them, and that they can make this difference just in their own lives, and that fractals out like a 100-monkey effect, you know, into the world. So it's a beautiful opportunity for everybody to to move towards and be guided now and see that everything is linked, absolutely everything, the atmosphere, the weather, the food chain, the animals, the plants. It's like there is just nothing that is separate anymore. And so your difference is the difference.
That's beautifully said. I think I've seen it too, that people are really putting the two and two together. So there's definitely more awareness around of what's going on. And like you said, astrology was great on the beginning, but I think people are truly stepping in, and it's not just astrology. There's so much to it. Like Jai is doing gene keys and human design, and there's so much more to it, right? Like right now, I'm dipping my own toes into Vedic astrology as well. I'm not 100% there yet, but I'm curious about it. So it's like having all these kind of different modalities right in front of you to, again, having a little bit of more of understanding, right, of me and my involvement and everything. So yeah.
I mean, it's like reaching a tipping point. You know, if we are all one energy, sort of fractaled out into all these tiny expressions of source, and we are truly all connected, you know, it's like there's been this building over time of a raising in consciousness, and now it feels as though it's gotten to this tipping point to where everyone is starting to feel it. And you know, it's really interesting because people coming to see me, I would definitely call myself like the deep end of the pool, as far as like being very, you know, past lives and quantum stuff and aliens and lots of things. And people are coming to me for their very first set, you know, they've never had energy work, they've never had a regression, and they're finding me, and I'm like, wow, like the universe sent you here for your very first session. Like everyone must be more, you know, like this tipping point that we have reached. It's like people that have not dipped their toe in this pool at all are ready to like jump into the deep end, which I think is really incredible.
Yeah, I love that. You know, there's a story that I remember I heard one time. It was actually a singer that shared this at a live concert. And it wasn't even me at the live concert, it was in the recording. And I was like, wow. And I always share it because it really matches what you're feeling about that tipping point. And it's the story of how a caterpillar becomes a butterfly, and how inside the caterpillar there are these cells that start popping out, and they're called the imaginal cells in biology, imaginal cells. And so at first the caterpillar cells start to attack the imaginal cells, but then more and more of the imaginal cells come online, and all of a sudden there's that tipping point where eventually the caterpillar goes into the cocoon because it knows that something is about to change, and it's like instinctually like preparing for the shift. And then at a cellular level, that's where the real change happens. And so once this tipping point occurs where there's more imaginal cells now than caterpillar cells, the caterpillar cells become the nutritional suit for the imaginal cells. And then eventually you get the butterfly, and there is not a single cell inside the butterfly that would show that it was once a caterpillar. It's a complete mutation. They're something completely different. It's mind-blowing, but I love sharing that example because it really reflects what I feel is happening to us as a collective.
Yeah, that's a beautiful. I was just gonna say that was beautifully said. I loved it.
I was going to say, Jai, that a lot of my teachers have been talking about humanity evolving into this homo luminous, this light body that we're working towards, and that we're getting closer to that. And I think that's like a perfect way of saying with that we're not going to remember our caterpillar cells, you know, and there's some of us butterflies that are out here right now really working and like trying to be activated. And some of the caterpillars are still going to be out there though. Like I don't know if we're all going to get to the same place at the same time. Eventually we'll all end up in that source, the oneness, but there still will be those that are happy being caterpillars, and that's okay, you know?
Mhm. Yeah, we are
Totally.
completely different timelines, right? So everybody will spread the
Hmm.
wings at a different time. What I've noticed is with my own children, um, that they are so much more aware than I was at that age. It blows my mind every time. So they are definitely, or they were born at the right time. I mean, everybody is born at the right time, but I think in the evolution for them to be where they are right now, it's every day they blow my mind. I was like, you just said that? Wow. I'm very, very proud of them. Yeah.
So, from a regression perspective, it's really interesting because a lot of people have wondered, like, when it comes to star seeds and like a cosmic connection, like when will Earth be like a cosmic place again where many, many beings dwell? And I've heard in regressions that like the aliens aren't going to come and land; they're being born. They're our children, which I think is really incredible.
Mm,
I love
very
that,
Do
cool.
you
Joy.
not think that we're already a cosmic place? Like,
Yeah,
I
I definitely think that we, are a cosmic place. I mean, just looking at the writing on the walls in Egypt and all of the,
um,
hieroglyphics and ancient texts, but, some of that has been hidden for now. And so, I guess I'm referring more to like an openness of a cosmic society.
yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say with my work, especially lately, I've been working with the auric bodies and how the auric bodies are actually programmed by the planets. And so we start to get an understanding of how the planets actually weave our auric bodies prior to us actually being born whilst we're still in the womb. And that connects to the 88 days of Mercury and the 88 days prior to your birth natal chart. And that's what one of the technologies that was so beautiful from human design was this second part of your astrology. And so I figured out that that was how the auric body was woven. And it's all connected to moving into us as what I refer to as the new cosmic human, which is that sort of remembrance of the weaving whilst we were in the womb, plus also this kind of seeming moving towards in an evolutionary sphere. And to go back to what Jai was saying about the butterfly and the 25, well, in my work, the butterfly is the 25, and the 25 is where Neptune, the imaginary cells of Neptune's moved into Aries. And so it's literally about the beginning of the metamorphosis and the emerging of the butterfly. Like that's this sort of beautiful cosmic placement that humanity is in. So everything that you shared in my work, it's exactly what you just said.
I love that.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. I'm still learning.
It's Pandora's box. Like, I do feel
Mm.
as an astrologer, there's no end. There's absolutely no end to the levels of knowledge, and the deeper you go, it's just like this will be,
Mm.
for me at least, like I feel like this will be a lifelong pursuit. And that it's just, and on top of it, because consciousness is evolving and shifting at all
Mhm.
times, like that there's going to be an evolution to the way that we're understanding the planets, like just looking at gene keys and human design and the way that goes, like it just keeps getting deeper and deeper and deeper. But then you realize that it comes back to the source. And I believe that, like with this Pluto and Aquarius, with the Neptune Aries like connection right now, that we're having so much of the ancient wisdom become available to us. And I think that we're all going to be able to tap into what our connection to source is, and that we're all going to be remembering kind of like these past lives. Heather, maybe I might have to book an appointment with you to go deeper, but it's I feel like we're going to be remembering places that we're connected to, and we're going to go deeper into kind of the wisdom teachings while adding it to the layers of the more modern modalities that we're looking at. Like I was just in Egypt, and I I felt something very different than what I expected. Like there was definitely an initiation and an awakening, but it was not what I expected it was going to be about. And it's still like unraveling itself. So it's just very interesting the way it's all starting to evolve for everyone individually.
Well, Egypt is crazy.
Oh yeah.
Like it's not, it's never what you expect. I
No.
can't even believe that I got to go twice last year, but both times it triggers you. Man, Egypt is a
Hmm.
trigger, like the energy of that place, and then you got to go through the trigger. It's like you cannot not go through a dark night of the soul experience while you're there, in my
Yeah.
experience, in my opinion.
I
But
I had the privilege of having the conjunction, the day of the conjunction, as
wow.
we had in one of the pyramids. We were in the king's and the queen's tomb at night for a ceremony. So it was like, how did I get here? How did this happen?
Wow.
And yeah, very powerful. Yeah.
That's amazing. I was gonna respond to what Robert said about the 88 days before birth and the significance of that. And it made me think about the that you're right. It is the auric field, and the coolest part about that, something that can make maybe simplify it for those people that are like just coming into the awareness of this. To me, it's like because that those 88 days have very much to do with your body, your physical body. And
Mhm.
part of what is underlying the whole concept of human design is that your body knows the exact direction that you are supposed to go in this lifetime. Your body it's because it's the cellular structure. The cellular structure knows the whole pattern. Like, even though some of it is unknown to you in your conscious awareness, your body knows everything. So if you allow your body to take you in the right direction, that equals you living in alignment, which means that your body, every time you take one step closer to alignment, then another step closer to alignment, you glow more and more and more. And that's how the auric field gets wider and wider, because you're in your joy. Like, all the not self and the signature themes that you see in the human design chart. When you're in alignment, like you're either in satisfaction or peace or, success. You're not in the frustration. You're not in like the friction. It's less friction. And when there's less friction, then there's more flow and you feel freer. Like that same thing I was talking about, the liberation aspect of it. And then you just glow more. And then it's your radiance, right? Like there's an actual sphere in the Gene Keys activation sequence, the very first one, that is the radiance, and it's tied to the design side, which is the 88 days before birth. And that radiance glows when you are in alignment more than and ever. Like people, like it's the example of like, when you've been like doing the work and you haven't seen somebody for a long time and you're in a different place. Like you've had your little mini caterpillar moments, right? Turning into little butterflies. And then you go see someone that you haven't seen in a long time and they're like, "Oh my God, you look
Mhm.
amazing. You're glowing." Like that's what that is. And so when you're in alignment, like, and that's people see that. It's like a felt thing. We're like exchanging in the energy space, and that's why people can actually see it. So it's just a cool way of like bringing it more to the visual aspect of like, or the physiological feeling of what that can look like in real life. But I love that. I love that you brought that up because yes, our body knows. And if we just trust our body, we're going to go in alignment.
I love that
Embodiment.
so much, Jai. And, it's so interesting how our intuition is always working through our body. Like our emotions and our body are telling us all of the time which way to go, which way not to go. And it's like fighting old earth programming where we're taught to do things a certain way or like to use logic instead of our natural intuition, which is always speaking through our body, which is, when I met you, Jai, and I started to learn about my human design and my gene keys, and I started to understand how my intuitive gut is like my most potent tool for directing my life. And all I have to do is just listen to what I'm feeling in my body, to know to go the right way. And, it's such like, a magical tool. And it's so interesting that it has taken humankind so long to come back to it, and to listen to it and to trust it as our compass that's guiding us, is just listening to what our body, if like anxiety is a message, anxiety is telling us where something isn't quite right. Those feelings in our body of like, yes, everything feels good, is when we know something is resonating with our energy. And it's such a simple system. And I love that, we're all learning to come back to that as human beings.
Yes, I can relate to the gut feeling because it's been quite a journey, and through my own perspective, my own experiences, before I have awakened to the possibility again of who I am and what I was supposed to do, like you guys were saying, really following my path, it was always living in fear, not knowing which way to go, and basically, what's the word I'm looking for? It's scare, yes, but also resentment, not wanting to follow that gut feeling. And like you said, Heather, it's like if you don't follow it, you go through the other direction, and then you have these anxieties. You have so much things happening that, it's like your head cannot handle it, but I think once we do fall into that path of the alignment, it's so much easier. And again, things will come out from the heart instead of from the head.
But I am finding that, like, some of the younger people, I think, because this world is more readily available and there's like the spiritual influencer type people, but there's a natural way of finding the path and having like the Saturnian tendencies that come in the 20s and 30s that kind of keep you locked into the matrix. And it takes time for you to get your own chart hit by like Uranian energy, and then in the 50s your Chiron return. Like, you come to that path for a reason, and it takes stumbles, it takes like kind of conforming before you decide you want to be a butterfly and get out of the cocoon, and like you want to emerge. But it's everybody's on their own path that way.
Yeah, like we all have our own little timing. I love that you mentioned those like major life cycles in the astrology. I'm currently writing a book that's about my own personal life, and it has to do with me sharing my perspective on life when there was these major astrological things happening. For example, like, we have like the first Saturn square, and then we have, certain progressions that happen in our chart. We're born at a very specific moment, and then that's when the story starts to unfold. So I've been going through and analyzing like the first 7 years of my life. What is my memory of that? Asking my dad and even, my sister, like, what was yours? What do you remember of that? Like, I had a very huge shift right at the end of the 7-year mark, where I moved from Argentina to the US. And it was a big trauma for me. It was very uncomfortable. And obviously we stumbled our way through that. But the process that even led up to that point, and then realizing that on that day that we were actually flying, there was a full moon in Virgo, for example. And these little things that I've noticed, I'm like, oh my God, like, wow, the astrology was showing also the story from that lens. And how if you look at all of these cycles that we just naturally go through individually, like collectively, because we all have the same, like the first Saturn square always happens around the same time. the Saturn opposition and all of that. And then when you get a little older, like at 29, you have your Saturn return and so on and so forth. We all go through those around the same age, but there's other aspects that happen that are very individual, right, to each person. Looking at that can help give you a whole nother perspective on life. I'm having that experience as I'm writing the book. That's why I'm bringing into the conversation like how important it is, or it could be, for someone to actually look into this for themselves, especially if they have like childhood trauma. It can help like move the energy and bring more awareness into those like dark places that we'd rather avoid and not look at. And so
Even
just,
if you're having medical issues that like can't be solved by the regular medical system, like a lot of neurological issues can be related to a Uranian transit that's happening in your chart. And it can't be explained, but there's something that is forcing your body. There's the embodiment of the cosmos that is propelling you in that particular your path to move forward. And we're so connected to, we must listen to the Western doctor, like all of the x-rays they're going to tell us. And people will waste years and money and never solve anything. Whereas if they just went to see an astrologer during that time while they're, investigating things, it could help uncover other things that are actually happening cosmologically. Yeah.
So give them a little bit more of understanding of what's going on.
yeah, and that's it. It's the opening your eyes to see something from a different perspective. Because how many times in your life have you had a challenge, understanding an experience, like why did this happen, going into either like victim mode or whatever it is that you experienced, and then the minute you lay your eyes on something in a different way, when you see something else about it, it relaxes the original thing, and you're less I don't know if what's the word, like you're less attached to it. It kind of frees you a little bit when just to see something in another way. It's like it's huge. I've had like so many times in my life, like I'm like, I don't understand this, what's going on, why, and then I don't know, I have a conversation with someone like, in my very natural mental projector way. I just need to talk to somebody about it, and they share another perspective, and I'm like, oh my God, you're right. It's not that big of a deal. But I was somehow making it like this huge thing, and it's actually not. And I've been going through a personal process lately of being so observant with myself. I'm being very careful with what I say and what I'm actually putting out there. Just for some reason, I don't know why, just for some reason in the last week or so, I have been feeling like, be careful what you're putting out there. Don't just do the same old pattern. Don't do the same old thing you've always done. Take the high road in a way, like do it with consciousness, like do it with awareness. And that I'm loving it. Even though it's kind of intense to have that experience right now, I am loving it because I'm like, oh my God, thank you. I always wanted to have that strength instead of just like, bleh, I always wanted to be able to like reflect deeply about why is this feeling coming up? Why is this thought coming up? Why do I want to say that? That's what I've always said, but is that really the truth? And that process is like, whoa, it's been so powerful for me.
You're aligned with the energies right now. Alexandra, I put together just for like looking at what the year was, and rather than going deep into like what the actual transits and planets are doing, I put together a list of 8 themes that we can look for. And maybe I could share them with you all and jump in where you think, because you've been looking at the new year ahead. So the first one, okay, first one I have is like, this is the biggest one for me that's been coming out with this Aries energy, is be your own guru. Aries is all about, and like Jai, you be your own guru, like you're just being like attuned and present and aware. I think that's what is the challenge for all of us right now. And then we've got being a co-creator, where we're resetting our material goals and values this year. There'll be themes of social conditioning using the tool of geopolitical chaos. That's obviously already here. Emerging global rebellions, fanatical cult emergence with a little bit of mind control via religion and technology. These are themes. Some environmental issues with flooding, typhoons. There's like the big Neptune energy happening with the fire, droughts, and things like that. But Gaia is starting to get heated with this energy. So, like having that awareness of there's going to be some big environmental things that are happening this year. And then the last one is continued disclosure of feminine abuse by power structures with possible justice for high profile case by October.
I was just going to jump in actually and say what I love about this is everybody's doing their own signature, right, and offering their own way, and it's so beautiful. But then when you see all of it tied together, there's so many links between it all. So for me, my latest course is really about like aura and how your astrology is linked to your energy body. And so when I'm seeing like Heather doing the energy work, and it's like it's becoming so much more important that now we can link astrology to our actual energy system and how we can work with our energy body, and that moves us in alignment with the cosmos. And it's really beautiful how these sort of seemingly different modalities, sort of astrology's over here, energy healing's over here, but it's actually now converging into this one sort of unified approach that actually is important. The embodiment process, the energy systems, it's all linked to your natal chart and your cellular structure, to the cosmos, to the seasons, to Mother Earth. And so there's, for me, what I've really experienced lately in my work is that it's just impossible to say that things are separate. And so they're more like specialist areas. But of course, this is where we're moving into the feminine holistic approach. And this is where medicine has sort of fractalized into being a heart specialist or a leg specialist. And that's been kind of beautiful to do. But now the holistic healing is like, okay, well, if I only know about hearts and I don't know about legs, then I can't see the connection between the two. And so now astrology and the awareness we're moving into is zooming out again and saying, okay, we've gone deeply into finding the intricacies of the brain and the neurotransmitters, but it's like, okay, but how does that work on a whole human body? Like, how is that more a holistic whole approach? And then that human body is a reflection of the environment, of what's happening on the earth and nature. And so this is what we're learning through children, especially, is that we know we put them in certain environments and we get different results. And so it's like there's a direct influence with our energy system, the environment, the education, the opportunity. And so I just think it's a beautiful thing to show that now energy work that was, again, seen also as sort of like potentially, just sort of spiritual stuff, and astrology that was kind of just like fortune telling. It's like, no, this is quintessential protocol for humanity to move through what is happening on the earth. And everybody's starting to realize that and be like, wow, this isn't anymore just sort of like pseudoscience. This is actually the epigenetics of how we link our genes and our expression and our DNA to everything that's going on. And the ones that are on that boat, that are doing that work, we're able to navigate the sea, of all the change. And the ones that haven't started that process, that's when they're like, wow, my life is just chaos. It's falling apart. And so I need to know what is going on. And so it's like everybody's being funneled into realizing that it's about this alignment and this connection to the energy body and to our astrology.
You have to be ready to experience it.
Yeah, very, very beautifully said. And, when I have the pleasure of like doing regression work or quantum journeys on, people like Jai, or people who are doing really, really incredible work in the world and have beautiful things to offer, we've been preparing for these roles that we're playing for lifetimes. And it's such a beautiful, it's such a beautiful thing to experience that all of these, different experiences we've had as quantum multidimensional beings over eons of time have led us to this moment right now where we're offering these beautiful, unique, different ways of looking at all of these different things from a different perspective, and helping people with ascension and helping the earth with ascension. And it's really incredible. Very beautifully said.
Thank you for sharing.
Nothing explains my experience of when I first encountered astrology and then the gene keys and then eventually human design. My ability to just like absorb the information in a way that was like, I don't know why I can take this in so easily, other than I'm just remembering it. Like I've already known it. That's what I was gonna say. I think this is the information that was known thousands of years ago. We forgot it, right? Through the ages, through the fall of Atlantis, the story of it's out there, right? That there was a point where humanity, something broke. Communication, I think, global communication, I think, broke. And in that, what happened was that we survived, right? Not everyone died. We survived, but we forgot. And so it's kind of like we started from zero. And we've been slowly, like stumbling our way through coming back to where we were before. That's why I feel like it's remembering, and that's why I feel like those of us that are here right now are here specifically, like we chose, okay, it's time to come now. Or we've been, coming over and over throughout time. But I do feel like there's a huge group of us that is here possibly for the first time, or maybe since those times, since that long ago. Or maybe this information comes from elsewhere, because there's also stories of how star beings came from the skies, onto earth and brought knowledge and wisdom. So where does it, we don't know where it originates, but we do know, like we feel it, that it's truth, that it's true that we're body, mind, and spirit. We're not just a leg or an arm, that like you cannot heal by like looking at symptoms. That's like that's like the cover. That's like the surface of what's really going on deep, which could be linked even to past lives. Like issues that are going, so it's like it's so dynamic and interconnected. And I love that we are coming back to remembering that truth.
Well, and I think that the emergence of having more reverence for indigenous cultures and communities and stories and wisdom is probably what's leading humanity back to understanding that these aren't just stories. Like this is the history of humankind. This is, back to Robert with the DNA and the mystery within. It's inside of us because the DNA strand is our cosmic map. And they've been telling us that for thousands and thousands of years. Like, yes, there's been something, whatever we want to call it, that has been keeping us veils, shall we say, instead of agendas. But it's time to like pull those veils away. And I think that working more with the indigenous wisdom keepers is really going to allow us to tap into that unified story of the oneness. And it's always been here, like it's kind of not new. It's here. It's just waiting for that reemergence, right?
Yeah, and it feels like such a, as crazy as the world is right now with all of this sort of spring cleaning, as we sort of evolve in consciousness, it's also such a beautiful thing to be here in this time to witness it, when it's no longer illegal to be intuitive, when it's no longer dangerous and threatening to be, offer healing services, to work with herbs, to be an astrologer, to do, to offer people these incredible things. It's like we are safe now to come back to these incredible ancient practices, and it's fun. Like as wild and crazy as it is, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but my job is fun. Like, I don't work at all because I am obsessed and I absolutely love every single moment of what I'm doing. And so, you know, what an amazing time to be alive and to be able to share our magic and our gifts and to reconnect with all of this. It's fun.
We've been talking about so many systems, and there's a lot of shadow. So, from your perspectives, why is shadow such an important part going through this journey?
You can't do the house cleaning if you don't see the dirt. You like back to Heather, like we're into this big spring clean and you have to see every nook and cranny. And, you know, a lot of people, I think there's like this pop spirituality where it's like, it's all love and light. Well, that's not going to get you to, it's going to get you to a certain point. We have to be able to sit with our darkness and our shadow. Astrology is built on a wheel, and that wheel involves polarity. So there's always a positive and negative influence. If you look at the I Ching, like everything in this Gaia material world that we're living, this particular dimensional energy has a positive and negative aspect to it. So constantly looking to the positive. And I think that's what a lot of, you know, if we all look at what we were doing with the you only live once era, where everybody post 2008 was partying, everybody was living their best life. And then all of a sudden we're in this darkness because we were all just kind of looking away, right? And here we're being forced to look at the dirt so that we can clean it up and we can put that community effort in, because looking away was just making it grow. And you know, like that, like your basement or the closet that like is about to overflow, like by just closing the door on it, it was building and building. So we have to actually look at it to clean it up.
Well, and you know, not to keep bringing it to past lives and things like that, but all of us have had such a wide range of experiences as beings. And you know, like thinking Jai about Pirate Heather, the past life that I had, where I was like a orphan who had been shanghaied and forced to work on a whaling boat at about like age 14. And all of the things that I went through in that past lifetime, I ended up growing up and I became like a pirate. um, like a man. I was a man and I was a pirate, and I perpetuated in that lifetime negativity in the world. But when we're thinking about a shadow, how does a shadow become a shadow? You know, I was a young boy, I was an orphan, I was looking for work, I was kidnapped and put into this situation. And so every shadow on Earth has an origin story. And one of the ways that we are able to ascend as humanity and to heal all of this and clean it up is to understand how shadows are created through pain, through abandonment, through loss, through fear, through all of these different things. And when we are able to find these sore spots in ourselves and in humanity's history and all of this stuff, understand how this became a shadow, love this thing, bring it out of the darkness, understand it for what it is, then we can begin that process of healing. But you know, shadows don't become a shadow because everything was, you know, easy. There's a reason that these things happen, and sort of understanding that, and you know, being able to you know, find these things within ourselves and within humanity is kind of how we start that process, I think.
Totally. And Heather, what happens when we walk, when you see a shadow on the sidewalk and we look at it, and when you walk closer to it, what happens? The shadow starts to get smaller. But when you walk away from it, the shadow gets bigger and bigger, and it's like it's chasing you. But when you go up to it and you bring your light in your body, the shadow starts to disappear.
So is suffering part of human evolution? Do we have to go through the suffering and the darkness before we actually see the light?
You know, I've got 100 million questions for the universe. Every time I get one answered, I have like 100 more. So, you know, I don't know if any of us are going to truly understand the answer to that question until we, you know, come back into some all-knowing omniscience. I have no idea. I don't, you know, fully understand the plan for Earth and what this is all about, you know, but I definitely find it fascinating. And I know that, you know, we learn so much when we're going through adversity. Like in my own life, I've had, you know, many different things happen that I did not want to go through. And like, I wouldn't be the person that I am today doing this incredible work, doing what I love every single day, if it wasn't for the times that I went through that sort of forced me into a dark space where I was sort of brought to my knees in a sense and had to emerge transformed as a different person. You know, I wouldn't have become like a past life regressionist or a quantum healer or cared about energy if my life had been easy. So for myself, I am personally very grateful for the path that led me to be who I am now. You know, so I don't know if it's, I don't know what its true purpose is, but, you know, I know that growth is uncomfortable, and that's a truth that we, you know, I think all feel.
I'm curious as to what you think, Robert.
Yeah, yeah, thanks. I was sort of waiting in the wings because I have a kind of a maybe even a controversial, but maybe a different opinion on this. Because if I look at the systems of life, if I look at what I'm finding in the mathematics, in the geometry, in the music, in the I Ching, in the polarity, in all of these things, I would say that for me, it's not about a light and shadow, but more about that the universe is a mirror. And so I know, Jai, you'd probably love this because I would say that the world is actually more about reflectors and projectors. The world is a reflection and a projection. And so yin and yang they're just mirrors of each other, complements, lovers, dancers. And so for me, I think moving out of this idea of the unconscious and conscious, because ultimately it's really as our awareness grows, the unconscious just comes alive. And so then we get a chance to see it and integrate it and work with it. And we have to look at life as essentially in maths, it's a quaternion symmetry. And what that means is that life is a four-way mirror because we live in this multidimensional world. And so we're very used to this idea of a polarity mirror, but actually those polarities then have another two polarities. So it becomes a quadrinity, a four cycle. And that works that's the pattern that works throughout all of life and all of music, all of geometry, all of maths. It's this quaternion mirror. And what that means is that there are these projections and reflections. And so we project out into the world and then we gain a reflection back from the world. And of course, we have that on an inner level as well, that there are reflections and projections inside of us. And so for me, it's once you learn and see that patterning and recognize how to find that within yourself that corresponds to the whole world and the universe even, and how galaxies and stars work, it's really more about finding the mirror, finding the reflection and seeing it, like Jai was saying, that you're seeing life from the other view, the other perspective. And so really like yin and yang, they're both sovereign energies that are reflections of each other in a different state. And so this is how the universe works in these alternate states, these strong and weak force, nuclear forces, electromagnetism, they work together. And so for me, I think that the deeper part of our evolutionary journey for this is to really see life through these two different lenses, which is kind of funny because obviously in human design, there are projectors and reflectors. And I remember saying to Jai before, like the reflectors and projectors, I feel there's a huge key there, a key essence there of that's actually the pathway of integration into that new view of consciousness. And that's why I feel the new children that are coming through are also moving into that, where it's that those transparent centers in the body graph when it comes to human design. So I'd love to know your view on that, Jai. And but that's what that's brought me to with everything in my work, what I've seen, and the new way to perceive the reality. So it's like an upgrade to the shadow, is mirrors and reflections.
I love that. I completely agree. It's a dance. I keep thinking of, yes, the yin and yang, that it's just, constant flowing, and they like blend into each other, but they're also separate. And then I was going to share that the world, our Earth, if you think about it, like our experience of being on this specific planet, for most of the time, right? It's like we have the equinoxes and the solstices. And so there's a certain point where like the daylight is the longest, right? That's the summer solstice. And then there's a point where like the nights is the longest, right? There's more darkness than light. That's the winter solstice, right? So, but it's a play between like more light, less light, more light, like less darkness, more darkness. So that then you see it there. It's like this flow, this wave that's like constantly moving. Does it ever stop? I think that it's about balance. Like at some point you find yourself into the, like maybe you step outside of it, and maybe that's the Siddhic frequency, that you're not longer in the shadow and the gift. You've like completely transcended it altogether. But I think that the nature of the experience of being on this particular planet is there's light and there's dark. It's like the law of polarity, is the laws of the universe in general. They reflect this reality here on this plane. So I do feel that, like, yeah, like Kelly was saying, like if you're too much in the light, you're neglecting another aspect of you, right? If you're too much in the dark, you're missing this other side of it. So to me, it's about finding the balance, or just dancing with it. I mean, I don't know that there is like a purpose, other than dance with it. And then I will share that in my Moon Goddess training, I teach, there's the initiation path tied to the ancient Atlantean path, going along the temples, which basically correlates with learning about each of the chakras, starting with the root, ending at the crown, just the basic 7 chakras. And the fact that, like, when you get to this one temple, it's called the Temple of Kom Ombo. It's the temple of the crocodile god. And that is the temple of the darkness. That's where we learn about the darkness. And so each of the rooms in this temple resemble the chakras. So in the initiatic path, you would enter into the first room and face the fears of the first chakra. And once you have fully faced the fears of that chakra, you would go to the next room, and it was the fears of the second chakra. And then you would go to the next room and the next room. At the very end, you would find these beautiful like stones they represent the heart. So it's like coming into the heart. So it's kind of the process of healing. But at the very end of that whole structure, you see the very famous image of Isis with her wings open above this little box. Inside the box is the human. It's the being. It's you. It represents you. Surrounding the box are the 4 major fixed signs, right? You've got the man, the scorpion, the lion, and the bull, which bring us back to the equinoxes and the solstices. So that's how significant it is, that it's literally on the wall, like it's part of the process to learn this dance of light and dark. And then you see 2 eyes, 2 ears, two noses, two of everything on either side of the little box where the being is found in the middle. And that represents the duality, the polarity. But you sit in the center at some point. This is also representative of the scorpion. The scorpion lives in the underground, in the darkness. They kind of rule the night. Then when they come out at night, and then if you do the black light, you can shine and see the scorpions at night. That's when they come out to eat or whatever. And then you have exactly the opposite, which is not really the opposite, the eagle, which is way up in the sky. Like in the native traditions, the eagle flies to the sun. The sun represents God, so the eagle flies closest to God. That's like the symbolism. So from up above, the eagle can see everything, and it feels like, oh, I know everything, because I'm like, I see all of it. But it's not until the eagle closes its eyes and becomes the scorpion that it actually learns to see. Because seeing is more about feeling and being in the body and going within. The true light, right? The eagle represents the light, the scorpion represents the dark. The true light actually lives in the dark. And then the dance again, and then it's vice versa. It's like they live within each other. So to me, I feel like, yeah, the nature of this reality is, yeah, shadows and light. And we're just constantly working through them in our own personal lives. But if you truly want to really understand the bigger picture, you need to accept that they both exist, that you can't just live all over here in love and light. Because what's happened, it's like the pile of shit that's behind you just keeps getting bigger and bigger because you're just ignoring it. So you have to actually turn around and look at it and like start cleaning your closet or whatever. And then, okay, more stuff might show up. I don't know. So in a personal way, the process feels very much like we are healing. But again, I love what Robert said. It's like we're dancing with it. We're just in the dance. But that's the nature of this reality. I do feel. And also, the perspectives thing is that the reality is all about how you see it. Because one person, you might look at them and be like, oh, that person's life is total suffering. And they're like the happiest person ever. You're like, wait a minute. If I was in that situation, I would be suffering. Why isn't that person suffering? It's all about how the perspective. But the perspective comes with like acceptance, love. I feel like it takes us always back to the space of the heart. So there's more to explore there. But yeah, that's my thoughts on that.
I just wanted to jump in just to say, I don't know if you know this, Jai, but I studied a lot about the chakra system and into its very Vedic origins, and moved actually into the original tantric system of the chakra system. And I just looked it up actually because I was trying to remember what it was. And in the original drawing of the sacral chakra, Swadhisthana, in the original drawing, the tantric version, there's a crocodile in the chakra.
Of course there is. That's amazing. It's all of the ancient wisdom, I feel like they were all in communication at some point. That's why you see temples and buildings all over the world that like this culture is saying the same thing as that culture. Like Viracocha in like South America is the same as like Orion over here. And I mean, it's like it's the same everywhere. Why? Like at some point, like they were all in communication.
Well, and I feel like these sacred places are calling us back. Like they're actually living energies, and they're there serving a purpose, not as the tourist sites that they've been sold as all this time, and some of the ones that UNESCO has taken over. But the temples themselves are calling people back. The people that are, we've been talking about, some of us have been reborn back into this time to remember. We are being called to these places and to connect with them energetically, vibrationally, ceremonially, which can be hard in Egypt. I didn't realize that you have to be a little secret about your ceremonies, but to remember and to give them the reverence that they need to actually be that portal of ancient knowledge that the world is like, just we're all open, we're ready for it, we want to move forward. And I think the more that we all connect, the more that the faster it's going to come. It's just infinite.
So if more people begin to living in alignment, what do you think would change in the world right now?
I think it's just happening exactly as it's supposed to. And I think we're changing immensely, like to the point where it is a little bit uncomfortable for people. Like we're back to we're in the labor right now, where sometimes you want to slow it down, right? Like you're like, I can't do this. Like, and then other times you just want it to just let's just get over with it. And I think that we're in that space with this Aries energy and the Mars energy where we want it to happen and we're being a little bit impatient about how we're going to get there. And we're seeing that kind of with the powers that be, like pushing things through that aren't fully formed. And so I think it's happening exactly as it should.
I love that. Do you know how like they interview people that are close to the dying, and they're like, "What would you have done different?" And like the one regret they have is like, "I wish I would have just done the thing that I wanted to do. Like I wish that I hadn't let this idea or this belief get in the way of like what I really wanted, like what really lit me up." And I think that if people would live in alignment, that's it. They would be lit up in the way that they are designed to be lit up. It's different for everybody. We're not all like gonna do the same thing. Like someone's gonna get lit up with like farming, growing plants, and someone's gonna get lit up with like being a world traveler and like, and it's infinite. Because it's like we live in this Akashic field of creativity, and that is the key to this reality also, is that we came here to create. We live in the third dimension where, especially here on the planet, it's like you think it, you can bring it into the physical. It's crazy. It's like magic. People don't even realize that. Like where did it come from? It started as nothing, and now look. And in my own personal journey of like finding out I was a mental projector, that was huge. Just that itself. It made so much sense why my whole life felt like I was, more like struggling through life than like fitting in, because my design is only 20% of the population. Just like the manifestors are, about 9% or so, and the reflectors are only 1% of the population. Most of the people on the planet are 70% generators and manifesting generators, so we live in a generator world. But when I discovered my true design and I started honoring like my own strategy and my own authority, I started to feel more joy and more like happiness, and I allowed myself to just follow the path that I wanted to take. So it was less resistance, and I think less resistance can bring in magic. I mean, I don't know what it would bring, but I have a sense that it would be amazing. But I also have my gene key, which is the life's work, the 35th, which is wormholes and miracles. So I go way out there with like, oh my God, it's gonna be amazing and magical and miracle loud. Yeah. And like I go there. So that's me though. You know what I mean? But like everybody has their own unique design. I personally feel if everybody did live in their design, they would just be more lit up in general. More joyless anger. I don't know.
Well, we definitely need less of that right now.
I just want
I
to.
have to jump off, everybody. It was wonderful to talk, but I have to run. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Callie.
Bye
Bye.
bye.
So, if someone is completely new to these ideas of learning all these new tools, what would each of you suggest that they begin exploring? I guess I can call it their first cosmic blueprint. Like, where can they dip their toes in?
I mean, I think that's going to look different for everybody. We all have, I'm sure each one of us have a beautiful and unique story of how we were sort of activated, that moment where we had an experience with someone, or we saw a podcast or saw a video, and it did something to us that made us like go, wow, I want to start going down some rabbit holes. Wow, I want to know more about, like with Jai, it was astrology and things like that. With myself, I saw a person sharing like a quantum healing hypnosis story on YouTube. And that like activated a whole path for me. And 10, almost 11 years later, I'm still going down rabbit holes. I'm still wanting to learn more about hypnosis. I'm still wanting to understand more. And so, I think that thing, whatever that activator is, very probably unique for each and every individual. So it's like it's a passion thing. It's like, what do you hear, or what has come across your field or your path that like makes you feel energy in your body, that gives you like a full body yes, or that gives you some sort of feeling of excitement that makes you go, wow, like I want to know more. And then, we all have our own beautiful and unique like gifts and magic and things that we're supposed to be bringing to planet Earth right now. And that's so unique for each and every person. So for one person, they're going to be, completely transformed by learning about their gene keys. And another person is going to be completely transformed by learning, whatever. But I think all these different things are activators. And, it's unique to probably the individual soul and all the complexities of all of the experiences they've had throughout time and space, and what, like Jai says, lights them up.
Yeah, I mean, there's basic fundamental things that you could start someone on, like the basic planets, if they want to dive into the astrology world. The first sequence in the gene keys, like they go in order. So, the basic stuff in the human design chart. But what I would personally do, like if I saw someone, I would ask them based off of their authority, what calls them in. Like Heather said, it's like I would ask someone with sacral authority, like, what does your body say? Which one does your body want to start with, Or if they had a different authority, I would ask their authority and let their intuitive side decide, But there's also just basic stuff that you could learn about each of at least the things that I teach.
For me, I'll probably jump into the other extreme of it, because I would say like that, yes, there are, this idea of the basics, but the problem is the basics are all connected to everythingness. And so I wish that there was a course that I'm actually doing right now. Like I wish that I found this course that I'm sharing right now, way back 8 years ago. And it is super advanced. It is about how everything's connected to everything else. But I was ready for that back then. And so I think it's very much about, yes, we can say there's basics and dip your toe in, but I actually say just go all in. Because if your heart's really calling for it, then go all in. Like, don't just dip your toe in and then you're kind of a bit confused if there's Vedic astrology and what's the signs. You have to commit to yourself to go into a portal, to go through this. And ever since I've done the book, I was just sharing this in my last group session, it's been 1,000 days of commitment since I got the download of the book to write the book. And it was every single day, every hour of every day for 9 months to write this book. And it was a journey, an exploration, and the book came out, and then I shared it into the world, and then I developed more, and I just went more and more and more. And it's been 1,000 days of commitment of every single day of moving through this. And the things that I've found, the things that I can share, the things that I've learned and how I've grown is just, I've changed more in nearly 2.5 years, 3 years, changed more than my entire life up to this point. So it depends on, I would say it's about do you really want to know? Do you really want to dive into this? Like, if you really want to commit to yourself and know about your role and know about how to live in alignment, like Jai is saying, and then how to weave your energy body, like Heather's doing, and like how all of that aligns with the cosmos, it's time to stop sort of being on the dip the toe in and just kind of like learn directions and try and balance life, and you're not seeing the whole picture. I say invest in yourself, go all in, find a system that you resonate with, and that everybody has their different angles. There's not one right system and other ones are wrong. Everyone has their different views according to the different emphasis of what people want to share. If people want to dive into shadow work, people want to learn about mirrors, people want to learn about high consciousness, people want to learn about mathematics or sound or geometry or how the pyramids are connected to our physical body. Like, whatever it is that excites you, go into that system and dedicate yourself to it, because it's not just about learning, it's about that application. You live the system. And when you start to live the system, transformation happens. There's no way you can just learn something conceptually. And yes, you might have like an epiphany, you might have like a bit more peace in your life, but it's never going to last because it's not an embodied, lived experience. And so I say it's now time. The call from the divine is you can no longer be on the fence and try and just learn a few things. It's go for it. You're never going to be great at yoga unless you go and practice every single day. You're still going to be stiff. So you have to dedicate yourself. And that commitment is a commitment to yourself. And that's your commitment, and that's your honoring of this body, of this opportunity to be here on the earth and this life and what you've been gifted and the natural tools and abilities. So I say the other extreme, it's now time to take full responsibility, commit to yourself, commit to the earth, and what can happen in your life. My life has completely changed, like exponentially, like 10x million upgrade in these 1,000 days of commitment. So from my experience, I would say do it, go in wholeheartedly, and you are just going to be amazed at what comes out.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. I think it is very important to invest in yourself. I can speak this for myself, as a coach told me too. He's like, if you don't invest in yourself, then you're going to be jumping from here and here. You start reading a book, then you stop, you go jumping to another book and you start reading it, and you're not really getting the proper information because you're not really focused. So the system that you choose can really help guide you to basically bring you back to yourself in a way and truly being in alignment. So thank you for sharing. Really appreciate that. So Jai, you have a book that just came out. We'll love to hear about it, how people can find it. So if you can share, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. So I just wrote a book. It was the 3rd year that I wrote it. It's called Seasons and Stargates, your annual astrology guide for the year, the astrological year. So basically what it does is it takes everything that I work with in my Starseed membership month by month, guiding people through the astrology wheel, and it puts it in a book form. So you get introduced to, like, what is astrology? Why do I practice, for example, Western tropical astrology? Why that's the appropriate astrology to use when you're viewing the astrological year in this way. You also, I kind of infuse gene keys and human design into the analysis of the new and the full moons. But every chapter is a chapter of each of the seasons of the astrological year. So you've got Aries season, Taurus season, Gemini season. And within those chapters, you have everything about what does that season mean? Like, what's the significance? For example, with Aries season, it's the spring equinox. It's the beginning of the astrological year. It's the new story. It's our hero's journey. And then I go into all of the transits, the major transits. You get a list of them, of what they are and why they're significant for that month. Then you get a section called the cosmic spread, which shows you based off of the astrology, almost like when you're pulling cards, what's the jumping off point, what's the challenge for this season, what is the overall theme, wisdom from our star family. And it's using the astrology to do these interpretations of each of these themes. So you get that. Then you get an analysis of the new and the full moon that month that are happening, what that means, also through the lens of Gene Keys and human design. And then I have fun things like, what essential oils do I recommend to use during this season? What crystal is good to use during the season? What kind of little self-love ritual that you can do this season for yourself? And then at the end, it's what is the significance for you in your own chart? And so there's a journal section that guides you to look at where is the sun passing in your chart during Aries season, because everybody's got that happening in a very specific place in their own chart. So it changes the experience for every single person. And when you become aware of that, like for me, Aries season happens in my 10th house, which is the house of career and life path and mission. So for me, every year I begin with that very thing in focus. Like, how am I going to show up in my purpose? How am I going to show up in my life? Into the world, how am I going to show up? And then the story unfolds as you go into Taurus and Gemini and so on and so forth, all the other seasons. So it's a guide. It's a guide to take you through the whole year. It's really fun. And thank you for letting me share that. Oh, you can find it on my website, channelforgrace.com, and just click on the tab that says Seasons and Stargates.
Perfect. Thank you so much for sharing. It's quite interesting because, again, there's so much. And if you make it in a fun way, it makes it so much easier for a reader to follow.
Yeah,
so thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah. And Robert, you have a book as well?
Yeah, that's definitely a read for sure. It's essentially, although there's this revelation about finding the lost octave, which was connected to the I Ching, and finding the 8 missing parts. And I've actually got some really amazing news about that, which I'm going to be sharing about that. I've found the mathematical formulas that have actually proven all of this. And so this is now a reality that the 72 gates are there. And also it's the exploration of linking the Dendera stone and the ancient star lore stories that have often been forgotten, and that people have known through things like the Greek myths and Roman myths, that actually they were all origin stories in the stars. And so the Lost Octave is an exploration of bringing those star stories not only back into our wisdom, but also modernizing them, reinterpreting what those stories are for this time. And so the book's essentially, the subtitle is Our Stories in the Stars, because my ethos is that when you know the story that your astrology is linked to, when you know the story that you're meant to play out, that is your guide. That shows you in the story of the myth. Let's say you've got the alignment of Hercules in your natal chart. Well, when you know the story that he has to go through the 12 labors, and actually I discovered that there was a hidden 13th labor, it's essentially you're going through the labors of each zodiac sign. So your job, if you have Hercules in a prominent placement, is to actually know that you're going to go through these 13 trials, and they're going to be themed through the 13 different zodiac signs. And then you can prepare for that. And when life turns up, you understand, oh, this is part of that story. And you can see how to move through that. So it's a beautiful remembrance, giving credence to the ancient Egyptian Dendera stone and bringing those stories back alive. And of course, with that, like every single story, like nursery rhyme, every fairy tale, every biblical story, I can find in the stars. And so every story, all of our stories of humanity are actually star stories. And those star stories aren't just out there, they are actually within our own genetics. And so they are archetypal expressions of all of humanity's different facets. And so the book is really a deep dive into the entire cosmos of all of the star stories, of how that links to you and will be the guidance for your life. And I mean, I was very blessed when the book came out. It went #1 international best-selling book in 10 countries. And it was just incredible that people were obviously ready to read about the star stories. So you can find that on Amazon. You just type in The Lost Octave with Robert James Comber, and then you'll find it. And of course, on the website, The Lost Octave, I'm going deeper into offering courses to go way deeper into how the DNA are actually star constellations and linking our DNA to the stars. And so it's really this beautiful integration of Earth, the stars, and the human are really one unified expression. So yeah, that's me.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. Definitely a big deep dive into reading that book for sure. But thank you for sharing. Yeah. And Heather, anything coming up
Yes.
for you?
So I work one-on-one with people doing soul work and psychic development, mentorship for people going through a spiritual awakening. So my work is very personal. I am working with Jai right now on a very special project, which you heard about in our recent podcast. We are getting ready to launch a really incredible teaching that I have worked on for many lifetimes, and Jai is helping me to produce this and to get it out into the world. So there'll be more information on that soon. So anyone wanting to connect with me, my website is quantumsoulsister.com. And sometime in the near future, when we get ready to launch, Jai and I will be sharing more about how people can learn how to do the very unique sort of work that I actually do with quantum healing.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much
Heather's-
for sharing. I'm super curious. Yes.
Yeah, I was going to say that Heather's sessions are very, very different than your normal past life regression sessions. I've also done the training with QHHT, Beyond Quantum Healing. She's done a ton of training, but beyond that, she's done also traditional hypnosis trainings. And she has a gift for really allowing you to guide this journey, this experience in the, you could say, the subconscious space, because in the hypnotic state, it can get really visual and really alive. And it's almost like we're talking about these mythological stories, you know, and it's almost like you enter into this dream space. And I have never had a past life regression session that has been like she's able to guide it. So she came to me with the desire to sort of put it together. And I've taught so many courses. That part's easy for me. But I'm so excited because I really feel that this is a unique gift that she has that we're going to give to others, to be able to guide and lead these sessions in the way that she does them. And again, like, yeah, we'll refer you to the podcast to watch more about that, and we'll be sharing more about that. But it's exciting because it's it feels like a very new thing coming into the world.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I'm excited to share it with you, Jai. It's definitely, you know, a soul contract for us to do this, and it's an honor and a privilege. So thank you.
Yeah, totally.
Before we close, I'd love to hear from each of you. If the universe could speak directly to humanity through you right now, what message would you like to give?
I'll share. Yeah, to say for me, it's probably in the last 2 weeks for me has been shown the way as to what is to come. And the last 2 weeks have been so super intense, and revelations are just pouring through. And it's this idea that for me, it's this movement from the lost octave into the next octave. And that's actually going to be the next book for me, is about how we are moving into a whole new spiral. And we are in that process of integrating where we've been into where we're going. And this whole next octave, this movement is opening up a whole new way to perceive reality, to see how everything is connected. And so for me, the direct message of the cosmos would be that we are on this movement into a whole new experience, and things, all of the revelations, all of the things that you've perhaps been working on, that you've been feeling for a long time, the opportunity for these things now to be not only awakened, but to now be a system, a way to ground it into this reality, is all coming online. And so let's say the new dream, or the dream that you've always had inside, the cosmos is conspiring in your favor to allow that to manifest into the world. And I think that as we just steer with our heart intention, that's enough. It's just about contacting your real, true heart's work, and knowing that the cosmos is aligning to allow that, to make that happen. So it's absolutely revolutionary when I share, hopefully in the next few weeks, the things that I've discovered. It's just going to be incredible to share this into the world, and this opens up so many opportunities. And so I would say that we're moving into the next octave, and just hold tight, stay the course, keep moving with your heart intention, and just know that things that you've dreamed of are now possible to come into reality, into this new vibration. So
Beautiful. Thank you.
Very well said. So I have one more session to do for today before I end, but if I had a message for the world from the cosmos, it would be that everything is okay. We are here for a reason, and we are, I believe, witnessing, an incredible time in Earth's history and Earth's experience, and it's a beautiful time to be here. And it's like, if we look for the good, we find the good, and if we are seeing only the bad, that's all we are going to see. But I believe that all is well. So that would be what I would say. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Thank you,
I'm going
Heather.
to go ahead and pop off now.
Thank you.
And I guess that leaves me with my message. So I instantly heard be brave. And it's be brave and tread your own path. Have you guys heard that Robert Frost poem, The Two Roads? Like, two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both. Be one traveler long I stood, and looked down one as far as I could. I had to memorize that poem in high school. That's why I know it. But that poem, that message, without even knowing, subconsciously just like stuck in my mind so strongly. And that is it, is that I've been talking about lately how there is no more an instructional manual about where we're going or how to do this or how to do that. You need to trust your own instinct, your own intuitive instinct, to take you forward. And you need to know, like, create the magic, like create what you want to create. And that means you need to take the road less traveled, because it will make all the difference. It's going to be the people that step fully into their creative life force energy, allowing that to just come, like, channel it, the life force energy of the planet, of the Akashic, that are going to be like the leaders of the new world. I truly believe that. So that would be my message. Be brave and take the road less traveled.
And don't be afraid.
Do it even if you're scared.
Yeah. Guys,
Yeah.
This one absolutely amazing. A lot of information. Thank you for sharing again your wisdom, your knowledge with all of us. I truly appreciate it to have this amazing group of experts who know what they're talking about and truly are trying to get this message out in the world. So again, from the bottom of my heart, I really truly appreciate you guys. Thank you.
This was so fun. Thank you. I really enjoyed this. I look forward to future conversations. it's kind of my jam. Like yeah, I just wanted to say that thank you because this was a great idea.
Great. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you so much. So great to be with you all, and yeah, I love this conversation, and it's so great to just allow all of these things to be spoken of and shared. And I'm sure this would be a great guide and help for people as to some insights to what's to come. And as always, such a great pleasure to be with you, Jai and Alexandra. Thank you so much for hosting and all the beautiful
Thank
work you put into making this happen.
Great. Thank you so much, you guys. Have a good night. Robert, enjoy your day. And Jai, thank you so much, you too.